Hi, I'm Willow Glam. In this presentation, I'll explore how women's and LGBTQ people's experiences across cultures reflect larger patterns of gender and sexuality. These patterns influence everything from how we understand identity to how we participate in social justice movements around the world. By looking at laws, culture, and activism, I hope to show how empathy and awareness can reduce stigma and help build a more inclusive society. Sex refers to the biological traits such as chromosomes and anatomy, while gender involves the social expectations and behaviors we attach to those traits. Sociologists like Wade explain that gender is a social construction, something we learn, perform, and reinforce through institutions. Concepts such as hegemonic masculinity and the feminine apologetic show how society values certain forms of masculinity over others and expects women to balance strength with softness. Intersectionality, introduced by Kimberly Crenshaw, helps us understand how race, class, and sexuality overlap to create unique experiences of privilege and oppression. Patriarchy is a system of power that privileges men and masculine traits over women and femininity. It shapes institutions like government, education, and media, which then influence our daily behaviors and expectations. For example, laws in workplaces have historically centered male experiences, while women are expected to take on more emotional and domestic labor. As Connell explains, patriarchy operates through both ideology and institutions that normalize male authority. Recognizing this structure allows us to challenge it in our own lives. LGBTQ experiences look very different across cultures. In the United States, same-sex marriage has been legal nationwide since 2015, and advocacy groups like GLAAD and the Trevor Project work to strengthen legal protections. Still, trans and non-binary people face high rates of discrimination and violence. In Latin America, several countries including Argentina, Brazil, and Mexico have legalized same-sex marriage, but the social stigma remains strong, especially in conservative or rural regions. Across both regions, progress depends not only on laws, but also on a changing cultural attitudes and building empathy through activism. Women's movements have driven incredible progress globally, but the gender wage gap remains a powerful sign of inequality. According to the U.S. Census Bureau in 2024, women with a certificate degree earn about 71 cents for every dollar men earn, showing that the education alone doesn't close the gap. The gap widens further for women of color and those in lower paying fields. Around the world, activism from the Women's March to grassroots campaigns in Latin America and Africa continues to challenge unfair systems and push for equal pay and representation. Intersectionality shows how multiple identities overlap to shape experiences. A person isn't just defined by gender, race, sexuality, and class also matter. For instance, a white gay man and a black trans woman both face bias, but in very different ways because of how their identities intersect. Trans women of color often face the highest levels of violence, economic hardship, and discrimination. When we think about equality, we have to address all forms of oppression together, not separately. Alrighty, a few reflection questions. In what ways have you seen gender roles influence opportunities or limitations for others? How can challenging traditional gender expectations create a more inclusive environment? And how have gender expectations shaped your life? Gender and sexuality aren't just personal traits, they're social systems that influence opportunity, identity, and power. Across cultures, people are working to make those systems more inclusive. But true equality requires empathy and daily action. We can all challenge stereotypes by speaking up, listening to marginalized voices, and recognizing that equality benefits everyone. Thank you for listening, and I hope this encourages you to look at gender and sexuality through a more empathetic lens.